Last week, Missouri Governor Mike Parson introduced us all to what he'd like to see the state spend money on in fiscal year 2020, introducing a state budget of just under $30 billion. The challenge, of course, is that Missouri must have a balanced budget, and state revenues are coming in about $500 million lower than projections thought. Ironically, that $500 million is about how much more money the governor would like to see the state spend next fiscal year over the current one. So the challenges ahead are for the state legislature to figure out what to spend money on and by how much. State Democratic House Minority Leader Crystal Quaid, and a Springfield representative to boot, has given us a quote about the governor's budget. She is critical. She told us, quote, "The governor's proposed fiscal year 2020 state operating budget appears to be out of balance by more than $100 million, and it isn't immediately clear how he intends to fill that hole. During the coming months, it will be the legislature's duty to make the tough choices necessary to pass a balanced budget. Although those decisions will be difficult, House Democrats will not support balancing the budget on the backs of school children, college students, or those in need of basic health care. Importantly, there is some agreement already, or at least it seems, among Springfield representatives. We reached out to Representative Curtis Trent for his reaction to the governor's budget proposal.
The budget process is such a big negotiation. Not only is it a negotiation between the members of the House and the Budget Committee, but also between the House process and the Senate process. And of course, the governor has his priorities that he will put in his budget recommendations. So, you know, it would take quite a bit of mind reading for me to say which one is the most vulnerable. I think that things like workforce development and you know, especially higher education have a lot of synergy, and I could see you know, funding efforts in those areas overlapping and working together in a mutually beneficial way that would perhaps add more security to the durability of those proposals. Of course, it always is difficult to make ends meet, and we're always subject to economic events that are outside our control. But I think the governor laid forth a strategy to prioritize the budget of the state in a way that would be designed to improve our economy, to get people back in the workforce with job training, things that should increase our revenue over time. And sometimes you have to invest in order to get a good return. I was also very heartened that the governor spoke about leaving some money on the bottom line for an emergency. I think that's a very prudent, very wise way to budget. You don't want to spend every last dollar and then have something unexpected come up. So between the prioritization of the budget on, I think, you know, very critical issues and the reserve fund, I think that the governor has laid forth a very sound program, and it will be up to the legislature to find a way to make that work. But I mean, that's what the people of Missouri sent us there to do, is to make tough decisions about the budget and to spend the people's money in a way that is maximally beneficial for the health of society.
And we're also joined tonight by Representative Steve Helms, also of Springfield and also a Republican. Representative Helms, good evening. Your view on this?
I think the priorities for the House are workforce development, which aligns with the governor's. I also think we want to make sure that we continue to fully fund K through 12 education. We've done that the last 2 years. No reason to see that we won't be able to do that in this third year and then moving forward. You know, I thought the governor did a great job with his presentations with his State of the State. He asked for a lot of, I think, good common sense things. And at this point, I believe I heard that we grew 5% last year, although like you mentioned, this year we're looking at a bit of a shortfall. And so it really comes down to brass tacks is where the numbers and what are we going to increase? Because I think I heard we got $1 billion, you know, not just $500 million, but $1 billion worth of requests for new spending from all the departments. And I think we're looking at maybe $200 million in additional money. So fully 80% is not going to get funded as to what people want as far as increasing. So I think we will be able to increase some areas. I don't think it's going to be as dire as, you know, what some people have predicted with having to cut anything. When you look at the money in Medicaid, I think it's just over a quarter of our general revenue goes to Medicaid. Just back in, I think it was 2010, it was 17%. And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in this program. It takes $10 billion out of our state budget. And so if we could just carve out, of savings, not cutting, providing quality care, but carve out waste, fraud, and abuse out of Medicaid to the tune of $100 or $200 million, which is, again, fractions of what they're spending. Just think what that money could go to the other parts of our budget. I also just was appointed to a subcommittee on Medicaid reform, so I'm excited about that. I think a lot of our budget woes could be solved by reining in the growth of healthcare costs, because Medicaid is such a large expenditure from the state.
Obviously, the political devil is in the monetary details when it comes to state budgets, and we'll keep track of the budget process all this spring. Representatives, thank you so much.